We have two of our largest sponsors, AARP and Yellow Cab of Frederick. We want to thank them. Thank you. Our dedicated volunteers and our participants. So today you're going to be treated to a wonderful 82nd annual Brunswick Veterans Day Parade. The weather may be a bit chilly, but the thoughtful work that has gone into this event and the words that you're going to hear from our speakers are sure to warm your hearts. In thanking our veterans, past, present, and future, I'd like to speak very briefly on one topic, and that is freedom of speech. Freedom of speech in the United States is protected by the First Amendment to the United States Constitution and by many state constitutions and state and federal laws. A growing outlet for speech is social media and public forums. This has been positive in that it's given us additional and varied ways to communicate. But it also seems that these new modes of communication have lessened our sense of civility to one another. Many of those who post online, it seems, have forgotten the golden rule to do unto others as you would like them to do unto you. The president of the Maryland Municipal League, Mayor Bruce Wall of Chesapeake Beach, chose the topic of civility for his annual theme this year. I sincerely appreciate his timely choice, as do many. To think and act in a civil or uncivil manner is a choice of personal responsibility that each one of us makes every moment of every day, and it's a choice that often affects people around us in a positive or negative way. What we say and the way we say it does matter. Thank you to the men and women here and across our country and those whose lives we remember, who have put their lives on the line to protect that important choice for us. We are and remain indebted to veterans for the right to free speech and for the other liberties that you help to keep safe for all of us. So above all others today, thank you to all of our veterans.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you, Brunswick, Maryland, for inviting me here today. And congratulations on the 82nd year that you've been doing this wonderful parade. It is really a privilege for me to be here. And I also want to thank Mayor Tome, Congressman Delaney, the local and state officials that are here today, Colonel Middlecamp from Fort Detrick, Maryland, the members of the armed forces, all three components, active duty, guard, and reserve, and most of all, fellow veterans and citizens of Brunswick, Maryland. Thank you for inviting me to be here today. What I want to talk about today is the words that you've already heard expressed up here about our veterans and our active duty military as well. Service and sacrifice. And I'd like to put a face on that by giving you some numbers to think about. I'm going to start with the number 1. Actually, I rounded up to 1 from 0.45. That's the percentage of Americans who serve in uniform today. 0.45%. 6 is my next number. 6 is the number of articles in the Code of Conduct adopted by the United States in 1955 that all of our members of the armed forces are obligated to follow. It's 6 articles. And in the first article of that, they make the pledge that they are prepared to give their lives in defense of our country. That's a pretty profound commitment. Number 14. 14 is the number of years that these volunteers and their families, as have been so importantly pointed out, have been at war. Notice that I did not say that 14 is the number of years that the United States, the nation, has been at war, for in reality, it is that 0.45% that have been at war. 22 million. 22 million. That's the number of living veterans today from all wars. The oldest veterans are from that greatest generation from World War II, right up to those that are just leaving the service to earn the status of veterans from Operation Iraqi Freedom, OIF, and Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan, OEF. 5.4 million. That's the number of veterans alive today who served in Gulf War I, OIF, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and Operation Enduring Freedom. 6,836. The number of those who fought in OIF and OEF, Operation Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom, who gave the last full measure of devotion, listed officially as killed in action. 52,281. The number in Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom who have been officially wounded in action. 52,281. Now here's a number you may not have heard recently. 57,849. That's the number of veterans who on any given night in some location in the United States are homeless. 22. The number of veterans who die by suicide every single day. 2 million. 2 million. The number of children in the United States who have had one or both parents deployed to Iraq or Afghanistan. 300,000. The estimated number of military families in distress or crisis as a result of 14 years of war. We hear much about the wounded. We don't hear much about those whose families have been wounded in a very real way, who suffer from mental illness or other unseen wounds. And those are a huge problem for our veteran population, our active duty population, and our nation. 99, and actually that's 99.55, the percentage of Americans who benefit from the service and sacrifice of that less than 1% who serve in uniform today. What do we owe those men? The number 6 again. Number 6 was before the number of articles in the Code of Conduct. Number 6 is also the number of articles in a code of support that puts into meaningful words what the American people owe or how they can pay that debt back to those who serve on active duty, and especially those who have given the last full measure of devotion. We describe the code of support as 6 simple promises that all Americans can and should make to our men and women in uniform. There's a copy of it in the program, and there are many copies also available in little handouts that should be available somewhere in the area for you today. 2. 2 is the number of U.S. presidents, one on each side of the political aisle, who have served in the current era of war. 0. The number of presidential calls for all Americans to do their share in the last 14 years. And so if I do one thing here today, I want to give you a call to action. I am here today to make that ask that our presidents have not asked of everyone here. We know that you care. What we're asking you to do, though, is to move from caring to committing to doing your share as American citizens to contribute to the defense of our country. One way you can do that, make that commitment, is to put your name on the code of support And you can do that online at www.codeofsupport.org. It's listed in the program. Signing that code of support is a symbolic act, but it is important. My second ask, beyond showing your commitment, is to actually get involved. The greatest generation is known as a service generation. It's not just the millions who served in uniform during that generation. It's every American man, woman, and child did something to sacrifice on the behalf of those who were serving the nation and fighting World War II. They didn't just sit on the sidelines. We have Rosie's the Riveter here today. The men and women who worked, the women in particular, who worked in the factories to produce the planes for the arsenal of democracy. We had young kids hauling little red wagons around town, collecting newspaper because newspaper was important for the war machines to generate the materials that our men and women in uniform needed to fight the war. You today can get involved in many, many ways simply by serving your community. Serving your community makes a strong community, and that makes a stronger nation. You can get involved with one of the tens of thousands of organizations that have in their title or in their mission statement something about supporting the veterans and the troops, volunteering for them, or donating. And my next number is 48,000. That's an estimate of the number of organizations that actually have that mission of serving veterans, members of the armed forces in their mission statement. Among those 48,000 are the good, the bad, and the ugly, unfortunate. The vast, vast majority are doing good work. You need to be a little bit careful from time to time that you know who you're giving to if you're donating and serving, because unfortunately there are those who, like in any other opportunity, take advantage of the willingness of Americans to donate. Let me tell you just a little bit about the Code of Support Foundation. Originally, we started this foundation to get Americans more aware of what service and sacrifice really means, and to ask them to become engaged. We've moved beyond that now to building a network of the organizations that serve our men and women in uniform and our veterans and satisfy the many, many needs that those men and women have. We at home have the obligation to give them all the resources they need to do their best to fight for us in our defense of freedom. You recall that I used the number of 300,000 of families at any given time right now estimated that because of 14 years of war are in real distress, and many are actually in crisis. Where can they turn to get help? How can they navigate 48,000 organizations out there to help them? That's where the Code of Support Foundation comes in. We have now, because of the need there, set up an operation where we have a number of full-time people who do nothing but take calls and referrals. We get them from the VA and the Department of Defense, in addition to many of these organizations of people who need help. And because of the distress and crisis that they're in, they can't navigate through that system. 286 is the number just this year of families that we've been able to make whole. 62 is the percentage of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom veterans from Vietnam and the Gulf War that comprise more than 20% now of those veterans. The number of typical organizations that we have to contact to make a military family whole, to get them through the crisis that they're in, is 6 on the average. Typically 3 to 5 actually end up contributing to a holistic solution to the family's needs. Those needs run from mental health, physical health, housing, financial needs, legal services, family and child support, employment, education, the list goes on and on. And of those thousands of organizations that are out there, most of them serve a narrowly defined population of people that they're set up to support, and they serve a very narrow stovepipe area. We work on housing, or we work on employment, and we work it for this group but not for that group. So the kind of support that we're giving is critically important, to pull together the resources of the nation. And that's ultimately what our broad mission statement is. The resources of this great nation need to be harnessed and play in concert, in cooperation, and in collaboration to meet the needs of our public, our veterans, and our military families. So in summary, I ask you to do two things and a call to action today. Sign the code of support, tell them that you care, and not only that you care, but you're committed, and then get involved. Support your community, support your veterans and troop support organizations. With that kind of support, we can and will remain the strongest nation on earth with the best set of values and principles of any nation on earth. Thank you very much.